It was a sun-drenched Saturday morning, and the quiet suburban cul-de-sac was humming with the typical weekend rhythm, kids riding bikes, sprinklers spraying, and neighbors waving from manicured lawns. But today, tension crackled through the air like static. At the center of it all stood HOA Karen, the neighborhood's infamously strict president, her sharp bob haircut gleaming in the sunlight, her bright pink blazer practically fluorescent against the pristine white siding of her community office. She had her clipboard in hand, her signature smug expression etched across her face, and she was marching toward a gleaming 1967 cherry red Mustang that sat perfectly polished in the driveway of one of the community's more eccentric residents, Mr. Leonard Hayes. Karen's voice pierced the calm. "Mr. Hayes, this vehicle is in clear violation of HOA Rule 47B. No unapproved vehicles over 25 years old may be parked outside the garage. You've been cited repeatedly, and I will be calling the tow company immediately." Mr. Hayes, a calm, silver-haired man with wire-rimmed glasses and a hint of amusement in his eyes, raised his hands. "Karen, I assure you this car is completely legal. It's my classic Mustang, fully registered, insured, and maintained to perfection. Surely you can appreciate a bit of automotive history." Karen's lips tightened. "History or not, the rule is the rule. I don't make the rules, Mr. Hayes. I enforce them, and that car is leaving this driveway today." Quick side note. If you're enjoying this HOA showdown and love seeing classic cars clash with overzealous neighborhood regulations, hit that like button, subscribe, and comment with your location. I want to know if HOA chaos is universal or just a local sport. By now, a small crowd of curious neighbors had gathered, drawn by Karen's signature mix of authority and drama. Phones came out recording her high-pitched insistence, while some muttered under their breath about her obsession with order. Leonard, meanwhile, leaned against his Mustang, calmly watching Karen's theatrics, fully aware that this confrontation was about to take a turn she hadn't anticipated. "Karen, let's be rational here," Leonard said, opening the glove compartment of his car. From within, he pulled out a thick binder, carefully preserved and worn around the edges. "This vehicle is not just a classic. It's been officially recognized as a historical landmark by the state. Here's the documentation." Karen snatched the binder from him with a dramatic flair, flipping through the pages with a mixture of disbelief and frustration. Her perfectly manicured fingers trembled slightly as she realized what she was holding: official certification from the Department of Historical Preservation, photographs of the car at classic car shows, and even a small plaque that recognized it as a protected piece of automotive history. Her face went from smug to red in a heartbeat. This can't be," she stammered, clearly unprepared for the situation to pivot so abruptly. The neighbors exchanged sly glances, some stifling laughs, as Karen's authority began to crumble right there in daylight. Leonard smirked. "It's okay, Karen. I understand how tempting it must be to try and flex HOA power, but this car isn't just about personal enjoyment, it's a cultural artifact. Removing it would have serious legal consequences. I'm sure you wouldn't want that on your record." The crowd murmured approval, and a few neighbors started pulling out their phones to share the spectacle online. Karen's usual confidence was replaced by a nervous, tight-lipped silence. She adjusted her pink blazer, straightened her clipboard, and attempted to reclaim control, though it was painfully obvious the crowd had already sided with Leonard. I will need to review this," Karen muttered, her voice wavering slightly. She scanned the documents, trying to find a loophole, any reason to assert dominance, but there wasn't one. Every page, every seal, every official stamp proved Leonard's claim irrefutably. She had been blindsided by an oversight she couldn't immediately fix with a rulebook or a tow truck. Leonard closed his binder and patted the polished hood of his Mustang. "I know rules are important, Karen, but sometimes history deserves to be preserved, and sometimes rules have to bend in the face of something truly significant." Karen inhaled sharply and glanced at the gathering neighbors, who were now fully enjoying the spectacle of her rare defeat. Her gaze flicked to her clipboard, then back to the car, then to Leonard. She opened her mouth as if to speak, then closed it again. The words wouldn't come. For once, HOA Karen had no clever quip, no bureaucratic weapon to wield. The tension lingered in the air like a storm cloud, heavy and electrifying. The Mustang gleamed, untouched and untouchable, a monument to both history and the stubborn persistence of its owner. And Karen, for all her bluster, had just learned a lesson she wouldn't soon forget, that even the most meticulously enforced rules could be undone by something as simple and as monumental as history. As the crowd slowly dispersed, whispers filled the street. Some were praising Leonard's patience, others were quietly criticizing Karen's overreach, but everyone agreed on one thing: this confrontation would be talked about for months. And for anyone watching this unfold online, here's a challenge. Comment below with the craziest HOA confrontation you've ever witnessed. Who knows, your story could inspire the next viral showdown.
The following Monday, the neighborhood was buzzing even more than usual. Word of the Saturday showdown had spread like wildfire across local social media groups, and some residents were still replaying the video of HOA Karen in her bright pink blazer struggling to maintain composure as she confronted Leonard Hayes' cherry red 1967 Mustang. The incident had become more than a simple HOA dispute. It was a symbol of power clashing with history. Karen stormed into the HOA board meeting, her heels clicking sharply against the polished floor, her clipboard clutched like a shield. The room fell silent as she approached the podium. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice tight but determined, "I'm here to discuss the enforcement of our community rules. And yes, there was a minor oversight this weekend involving one particular vehicle, but let me assure you, the integrity of this HOA will be maintained." The board members exchanged skeptical glances. Some tried to stifle their smirks. After all, Karen's oversight had been witnessed by dozens of neighbors, recorded and shared online. But Karen wasn't finished. "Rules exist for a reason, and exceptions, well, they set dangerous precedents. We cannot allow every resident to flout regulations simply because they own a shiny old car." Before anyone could respond, Leonard Hayes appeared at the back of the room, his Mustang parked just outside the large window of the HOA hall. He had come prepared, carrying a copy of the historical landmark certificate in a sleek leather folder. "Karen," he said calmly, drawing everyone's attention, "this car is not flouting rules. It's protected by state law. Attempting to tow it could result in severe penalties for the HOA, and believe me, the community doesn't want that." Karen's jaw tightened. She took a deep breath, attempting to regain the commanding presence that usually left neighbors quivering in submission. But her usual arsenal, rules, citations, threats, felt useless against this kind of legal weight. A younger board member, a woman named Jenna, spoke up tentatively. "Karen, maybe we should consider this a learning opportunity. The car isn't just property, it's a piece of history. Perhaps we could even celebrate it?" Karen's eyes narrowed. Celebrate? That was not how she envisioned maintaining control. "Celebrate? No, Jenna. That's not my role. My role is to enforce the rules." Leonard stepped forward, holding his folder out. "With all due respect, Karen, history is bigger than rules. Look around you. The community is fascinated, inspired, even proud of this car. This could be a teaching moment, not a confrontation. You could either be remembered for petty enforcement or for supporting something truly remarkable." The tension in the room was palpable. Karen's bright pink blazer seemed almost to glow under the fluorescent lights as she struggled with an internal conflict she rarely faced. Her face flushed, not with anger, but with the rare taste of uncertainty. She was used to winning, to having the clipboard and rulebook as her ultimate weapons. But this time, logic, law, and history were lined up against her, and the board members were watching every second. Finally, Karen exhaled slowly, straightened her blazer, and cleared her throat. "Fine," she said, her voice slightly wavering but firm. "We will review the documentation and no towing will occur. Leonard Hayes, your vehicle will remain where it is." The room erupted in quiet applause from board members and a few supportive neighbors who had been allowed in. Leonard nodded politely, maintaining his composed smile. "Thank you, Karen. I appreciate reason prevailing over rigidity. Perhaps next time we can avoid public confrontations and resolve these matters calmly." Karen opened her mouth to respond, then hesitated. For the first time in her tenure as HOA president, she found herself speechless. The crowd of onlookers outside, who had gathered after hearing the news of the meeting, cheered softly at the apparent victory of law and history over regulation. As the meeting adjourned, Leonard guided his Mustang out of the driveway for a casual cruise down the block, the sunlight gleaming off its polished chrome. Karen watched, still adjusting her blazer, her clipboard under her arm. The whispers followed her everywhere. She lost. She actually lost to a car. But even in defeat, Karen retained a shred of her signature flair. She turned to the remaining board members with a pointed look. "Let this be a reminder," she said, her voice regaining some of its bite, "that rules exist for a reason, even if today we had to bend for history." As Leonard drove past, neighbors waved, and a few captured the moment on their phones. Karen's bright pink blazer stood out amidst the crowd, a symbol of authority, slightly tamed, but still very much present. And while the Mustang remained untouched, shining as a historical treasure, the story of that Saturday and the dramatic showdown with HOA Karen was now part of community legend. If you loved watching HOA drama collide with history, comment below with the most outrageous HOA story from your neighborhood. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more tales where overzealous rules meet real-world consequences.